In the last decades, companies have become increasingly important actors with huge impact at many levels, and therefore the issue of their role in protecting human rights and in being accountable for violations of human rights has become the subject of debates at many levels. Europe is a very important economic player and is also home to a huge number of companies. And it's the natural reason why the Council of Europe has been involved in supporting the implementation of the UN guiding principles on human rights and business. I'm going to present our work at the forum, which is organized by the EU Fundamental Rights Agency, which will be held in Vienna. Let's start with the standard setting. Very rapidly, there are two key recommendations adopted by the Committee of Ministers. The first one of 2016 on human rights and business, and the second one adopted in March earlier this year on the role and responsibilities of internet intermediaries. Now here there is a very important point that I'm going to underline, that in order to make sure that business companies implement the standards that are developed by the Council of Europe, it is very important that they take part in the development and implementation of the standards. And this is why the Secretary General has launched a new cooperation framework with major internet companies and associations, which will allow them to sit side by side with governments and with states to develop new standards in areas where they have a role to play. Let's move to cooperation now. I will just very briefly mention the HELP course on human rights and business, which was already launched in 6 countries. And here I would like just to underline that lawyers are a key target group because they can provide sound advice to companies. And the last segment of the virtuous circle is, of course, monitoring, because it is important to see how member states implement the standards that they have developed themselves. And for this purpose, the Council of Europe is going to develop a platform in which member states will be able to share their best practices in the way they implement the recommendation and their national action plans in relation to human rights and business. This platform is going to be developed with our partners, of course, business companies, civil society, but also the Fundamental Rights Agency and the European Human Rights Network of National Human Rights Institutions. There are many areas where human rights and business collide. I'll just name 2 examples. Artificial intelligence, which is a huge market, but also is in need to be regulated, and this will be put on the Council of Europe agenda for 2028. Another area which is very important, and this is connected to the legacy of the Council of Europe, it's the fact that thanks to the Council of Europe, Europe, apart from Belarus, has become a death penalty-free continent. And the Council of Europe also, of course, supports abolition in other countries and wants to avoid executions in other countries. For this very reason, it is very important that Council of Europe member states are not involved in trading of goods which could lead to torture or executions of death penalty. And here we will be able to show that the pan-European nature of the Council of Europe, the fact that states sit together to find common solutions, is an ideal platform to give the responses to the challenges that business and human rights are posing today in the 21st century. So these are some of the issues that I'm going to discuss at the open session, which will be organized by the Slovak Center for Human Rights, the Georgian defender of human rights, and ENRI, the European Network of National Human Rights Institutions. And I really look forward to the outcome of the discussions, because the participants are going to draw recommendations, and the idea is really that the UN guiding principles and the Council of Europe standards are to get real impact in Europe and beyond.